Mike Huckabee joining us on the couch, governor of Arkansas, and also a Fox News contributor, Kevin Jackson. Kevin, from what we know this morning, it seems like this was a targeted, pre-planned, who knows how long, but a pre-planned attack against police. What are your thoughts this morning?
Well, it probably was. I mean, the speculation on that's going to last for some time. Obviously, there was some planning because they knew that the protests were going to happen. But I think what we should be talking about is why this attack occurred, which is, quite frankly, we've been leading up to it. When it happened in Ferguson, people seem to forget that police officers were shot at in Ferguson in one of the last episodes, and police officers are being killed all over this country. And it's leadership from the top. Barack Obama's speech helped to stoke this. I know people don't like to hear this, but we are not having an honest conversation around why this type of thing is occurring, because everyone on the left wants to look at this through the ethnocentric and I believe racist eyes of black crime. The facts are very clear that many people in America are unfortunately shot by police officers. In fact, there have been 561 shootings so far. 275 of those deaths were white folks, 136 were black, and 86 were Hispanic. And I would defy anybody that's paying attention to this stuff to tell me who was the last Hispanic who was killed. They wouldn't even know the name Alex Nunez. They wouldn't know the name Michael Misto, or Alex Misto rather, because he was the last white person killed. But we do know the name of Castile. We do know the name of Sterling. We do know the name of Freddie Gray and Michael Brown. But we don't know the name of any of these other nameless, faceless people, as if they don't matter. We should not be demonizing police officers for doing their jobs. And in the case of Castile, if indeed it is a bad shoot, as they say, let the law take its course. Despite Hillary Clinton, what happened with Hillary Clinton, we do believe in laws in this country.
Absolutely. And of course, we should point out the murders happened in Dallas at the conclusion of a protest. There were simultaneous protests across the country regarding the two men who were shot by law enforcement in the last week. Governor Mike Huckabee joins us as well. Governor, the mayor of Dallas, Mike Rawlins, said this is our worst nightmare.
It's the worst nightmare for any city, any state, any community, because when you attack police officers, you really are attacking the entire community. You're attacking the Constitution, the sense of law and order, and you're attacking common sense. You don't go shooting the people that protect us. And sure, there have been some incidences in which police officers went over the line. But look at North Charleston when that happened. What do? We prosecuted. Right. And that's what you have to do, is spend the time, get the evidence, and let law follow the course. And what's so tragic about this is the 600,000 police officers in this country every day get low pay. They often are underappreciated. And we need to just say to them, thank you for holding that thin blue line between us and anarchy. Last night in Dallas, these horrible savages erased that blue line.
That's something that Donald Trump has been talking about. Tweeting this morning about police officers. He says, prayers and condolences to all of the families who are so thoroughly devastated by the horrors we are all watching take place in our country. Governor, what is terrorism? Was this terrorism?
Well, it may not be terrorism in the sense of ideological terrorism. It may be terrorism in the sense of reacting to what somebody perceived was the abuses of police. But yeah, I mean, it's terrorism when you terrorize a community, and that's what you've done in Dallas. You've scared people to death.
Kevin, you're weighing in on this as well. It is terrorism, you say.
It is terrorism. Yeah, I remember when Elizabeth was on this show and we talked about this, and I said these types of movements are nothing more than terrorism. And the fact of the matter is a target has been put on the backs of police officers all around this country. And they do make mistakes from time to time, but why are we ringing the bell of racism every time a mistake is made? And we ring that bell when it's blacks being shot. Police kill people. Most of the time it's because their lives are in danger. But occasionally they do make a mistake. And we have to expect this now every time that a black person is killed or any person is killed. The police are there for law and order. And what we've done is we've almost we've racialized the police force to make them a separate group that theoretically is out hunting black people. That is ridiculous.
Well, and this comes, of course, after two black men were shot, as you're referring to, one in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, Alton Sterling, one in Minnesota, 32-year-old Philando Castile. And shortly after the one in Minnesota, Governor, we heard from the governor there saying that this would not have happened if he were white. You know how important it is as a governor to speak out after these incidents. What is your reaction to that?
Well, I think that was a very ill-tempered kind of statement for him to make, that it was a racist crime. That's essentially what he said, and I think that's unfair. Abby, your dad was a governor. He was a good friend of mine. I had to carry out the death penalty many, many times as a governor. It's the hardest part of the job. But I had months to think through every aspect of this case. I read every page of every trial transcript. I had all the opportunities to make sure that I knew that this person was properly adjudicated. What I had weeks and months to do, a cop in the middle of the night, in the darkness of night, has milliseconds to make. He's got to make a life and death decision, and we need to remember that. We ask these guys to do an incredibly difficult thing.
And we're not always there. We don't see everything.
We don't
that
see
happens
everything,
in that moment.
and that's look. There needs to be an investigation, but let it happen first.
Right, let it happen. Let us gather the facts. But the President of the United States was he's in Europe right now. He went to the podium and made some statements. He said, it's early, we don't know a lot of the facts, but then he was talking about people armed with powerful weapons and introducing politics so early in the game.
The most powerful weapon that we have to fight against is the weapon of irrational hate and the weapon of wanting to kill people to make a point. Because the common denominator in all of these kind of killings, whether it's the savagery of San Bernardino or Orlando or Dallas, and we don't even know why it's happened yet, the common denominator is not the weapon. It may be a bomb, it may be a knife, it may be a gun. The common denominator is the anarchy in the heart of the person who's committing the crime.
Kevin, I want to bring you back into this because Reverend Jesse Jackson, overnight, in an interview right after these attacks unfolded in Dallas, commenting on this, saying that Donald Trump is a factor in this rhetoric, this violence that we're seeing.
Yeah, sure. The racism dinner bell is rang for Jesse Jackson, and he's coming to get a full meal. I disagree with the governor in the sense that the common denominator to this is liberalism. The common denominator is people who have essentially marginalized the black community, corral them into neighborhoods where the crime rate is, gets out of control, bad schools. All the things that are bad about American society get exacerbated in the so-called black cultural community, and then everybody wants to ignore the outcome thereafter. The common denominator to this is Barack Obama not standing up for law and order and saying to people, I will not allow the people who protect this nation internally, that would be the police force, to go through this. But he doesn't do that. He doesn't do it with our military. He doesn't do it with our police officers. So we end up with things like Hillary Clinton being exonerated when everybody knows she's guilty. We end up with people who are now able to go out with immunity and shoot at police officers. This has been escalating for quite some time. This is not a new phenomena. Look at the crime rate in most of the major cities, and you will see it is going up, not down.
Governor, what would you like to hear from President Obama? Because the concern when something like this happens, and it's just horrific, as we were saying, it's the deadliest attack on law enforcement since 9/11. You're worried about us becoming more divided as a society. So what is the right message? If you were president of the United States, what would you be saying right now to the nation?
I think this is a time when real leaders bring people together. He doesn't split them apart. He doesn't inject very divisive political arguments like gun control into the midst of what ought to be a time of great grief for the nation. And he ought to do for us what Ronald Reagan did after the Challenger disaster. And that's remind us of what we have in common, not what separates us. And that's why I'm always so frustrated. Barack Obama has such great potential to be a leader. But on the other hand, what he ought to be doing is focusing upon those police officers and the sacrifice they made, and solely on those police officers and the sacrifices of their family, and leave all of the political discussions aside. There's plenty of time for that. Today, there's one thing ought to be on the president's mind.
I'm glad you brought up the families, because people don't often think about the sacrifices that the families make, and then waking up this morning having to say goodbye to someone that they love to go serve this country.
And they never know if this is the last day I see my daddy. And this just reminds them of that. And I just wish the president had put that focus on.
And we want to bring in former NYPD Detective Bo Dietl, who just sat down next to us here on the couch.
Bo, the mayor of Dallas has just given an interview. He said, and we made this clear earlier, they know of at least 4 people involved. One of them killed themselves. The suspects are not cooperating with the police, they say. 12 officers, not 11, they've updated the number, 12 officers shot. The motive, apparently, to kill as many police officers as possible, and Bo, so far, no link to terror.
Well, listen, first of all, my heart and soul goes out to those 5 officers. I just happened to be in Dallas 3 weeks ago for a funeral. I was with Mayor Rawlings, and I was with Commissioner Brown down there, Chief Brown. And as it is, the cops are pretty much down there because of no raises with their pay, and they're talking about laying off cops down there. So you have that going on. With this said right now, let's not jump to conclusions of what this was all about, because this was a well-orchestrated thing. They were shooting from the rooftops. There could have been as many as 4 shooters, as far as from me watching, listening to the firepower. Then you had the way that one man was moving around in the strategic
He
way.
looked like he'd been trained.
He definitely was trained. Then when he assassinates the cop like that, we got to realize we can't take anything off the board until this is fully investigated. I don't need President Obama coming out worrying about gun control. There were 5 officers that were gunned down. These other cases are going to be investigated. You can't go out and kill people because you don't like what you saw. When you get a president that's judging again what's going on, you know, people don't realize there was 5 white Americans that were killed across this country last week by white police officers or by black police officers. This is something where you have tens of millions of interaction with cops and people, cops and people. And the one in down south there, he had a pretty lengthy rap sheet. He wasn't a kid that was on the block, and he may have had the gun on him and all that.
What does it say to you, though, that the suspects are not cooperating?
Well, here, that just shows me that there's a motive here, that they know what the motive. Maybe the motive is to shoot the cops, start a race war in America. It's a good time right now with the demonstrations. Hey, look, this brings me back to 1971, 72 with the Black Liberation Army when they were gunning down police officers. We had 13 killed one year, and we had 11 killed the next year. And this just brings me right back. And last night I said, when I was on Megan's show, this thing is bigger than you think, because when they have someone shot, they put them in a police car, they rush them in. You don't wait for an ambulance. Right. And I kind of, when I saw the guys laying down on the ground, they weren't moving. The pictures that first came out last night, and again, my heart and soul goes out to those families.
Kevin, we want to bring you back in here. You were listening to what Bo had to say. Do you agree, disagree, like the 1970s?
Well, you know, Bo's obviously got a lot of experience in that area, but here's what I will say. The long-range impact of this is that we've created an ecosystem where blacks now hate cops. There are black people in America celebrating the fact that 5 police officers are dead, 12 are wounded, and there's a celebration going on that we got them, those pigs in a blanket. The fact of the matter is the neighborhoods that are the least safe in this country are black neighborhoods. The 600,000 cops and the people that Bo have talked about are the very people that go into these neighborhoods and console the mothers and the grandmothers, the fathers and the mothers, the fathers and the brothers and sisters of these kids when they're killed. And they're going to have to go into these neighborhoods where they know they are despised by blacks because of the separation that's been made.
So, but where do we begin? Yeah. You're saying this is a bigger problem than we even imagined. Where do we begin to bring these communities together?
You bring with leadership. First of all, we should not be dividing this country. I have never seen racial relations so bad. Remember, I was a cop in the 1970s. I have never seen racial relationships so bad as it is today. And our president has divided us because he prejudges things before with Ferguson and all that. We had 2 cops assassinated in New York because of the outrage of this de Blasio there. So let them, what do you want, dead cops? When do you want them now? Hey, these are the people. Take the cops off the street and see how long our society would last. Right. If they all walk in off the street for 2 days, what are we going to have? We're going to have anarchy. And my whole problem here is that I want to bring people together. You have these things like Blue Shield, you have CopSync, you have all these programs to get into the inner cities to show these kids that cops are fathers and sons. Right. They're not the big, bad, ugly people. They want to help you. You saw those cops running into the line of fire. They weren't running hired. They were running in there, and I'm really angry because these poor cops have children, and I guarantee you some of those cops that were killed could be African American also. So it's not black and white.
Absolutely.
It's a society, and what we got to do is bring ourselves together, and this president has divided us too darn much, man, and I just hope whoever becomes the president, whether it's Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton, that we bring people together. This is one of the most important issues in our country today.
Speaking of leadership, the Dallas Morning News has an editorial today, and at the end it says, Mayor Mike Rawlings' assessment, Governor, was tragically correct. Our worst nightmare happened. They write, we must wake up and unite. If we lead with anger, nobody wins.
And that's a very good point. And I think to Bo's point, this is about making us Americans, not black Americans, not white Americans, Americans. And Americans are people who understand that we are only as good as we obey our laws. And as we understand, that's what unites us. It's not our color. It's not our the demographics of our socioeconomic background. It's our respect of each other, which is done under the banner of our laws and Constitution.
And then, you know, we go back. My last case was 10 Hispanic kids shot in the head, dead, 10 dead, the Palm Sunday massacre. Guy came in and shot the kids all in the head. These are things that happen in society. The cops are there to protect us. I didn't like what I saw in those videos, like everyone else. But again, you've got millions of interactions, millions of interactions. Let's investigate it before we start calling something before we know what the hell it is. And that really gets me mad, because these poor cops that were gunned down, they're using it as an excuse. But I think there's going to be a motive behind this. This was pre-planned, and this is to start up. You know, this is a very easy way to start now. The cops not reacting, and the cops are not reacting in New York City. The gun arrests are down. Yeah, because the cops are not getting involved. I talk to them every day. Blue Lives Matter is what I wear.
I don't think I've seen you this passionate
I know.
ever in my life. You're
It's
that
real.
close.
It's real. The emotions are real this morning. And what we saw, we're looking at the video out from last night. It looks like a war zone. It does. And we just think about the reality.
Their fathers, their sons, these officers, their fathers and sons out there, and they ran right in. These are real heroes there. And if you could see what was going on there, this one guy had full body armor. The cop shot at him 3 times, I believe. And then all of a sudden, he didn't just shoot the cop.
Sure.
He went over there and he pumped 3 bullets into him.
When he was on the ground.
I want to find out what it's about. Let's not prejudge anything. And I need my African-American people of this community to all band together and help the police officers find out who in the heck was in back of this. We're all one. We're America. We're not black, white, Spanish, Muslim. We're America. Let's be together,
And
please.
Bo, we're all frustrated. This is a terrible night in Dallas. Bo and Kevin Jackson and Governor, thank you very much.
You bet. Thanks.
The crime scene is massive. All of downtown Dallas is shut down on this Friday morning. Where do investigators even start to put it all together? Forensic expert